From our studios in Atlanta, this is CBT News. Today's show is brought to you by V Auto. And here now, Joe Gum and Bridget Fitzpatrick.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to CBT News. Today is Friday, September 16th. We appreciate you joining us today. I'm Joe Gum. Bridget is on assignment. It is Friday. What does that mean? Well, that means we'll be taking a look back at this week here at CBT News, where we discussed several key topics and, of course, gave you plenty of sales takeaways. This week, we talked about ride-sharing apps like Uber and Lyft and discussed how their services impact industry sales. We also told you about who's buying more luxury cars these days. We discussed the movement into mobility and what that means for car dealers. And we told you how one dealer measures their digital outreach on social media. Now, if you missed any of our great shows this week, you can always go back right here and type in the name or topic and pull it up in the search box. Okay, so before we get to the great stories or the interviews we had for you this week, we want to give you 5 ways to improve communication at work. This list comes to us from LinkedIn.com. Number 1, emphasize the value of good relationships. Number 2, encourage employees to speak up. Number 3, set up the proper channels for employees in your organization to communicate with each other. Number 4, introduce more collaborative projects. And number 5, introduce a sense of fun into the office culture. All right, real quickly, we want to remind you about the CBT Automotive Conference and Expo right here in Atlanta, March 7th through the 9th. Early bird tickets are on sale right now. You do not want to miss the opportunity to be talking to our expert trainers that you see right here on the CBT Automotive Network. And you'll also hear from awesome keynote speakers like New York Times bestselling authors John Acuff and Gary Vaynerchuk, plus Google's Peter Lito and many more. Now make sure you check out our website and register for the event at cbtconferenceandexpo.com to stay up to date with announcements and special pricing for the conference. Again, that's cbtconferenceandexpo.com. All right, so this week we talked about how customers want trust and transparency in the car buying process, and not just from you or your dealership, but from the sticker price on the vehicles they like as well. Ned Nielsen, founder of MonroneyLabels.com and a former dealer principal, told us this week how to make sure the sticker price is never a problem.
When you used to trade a car in and you could find the original window sticker, it was like finding gold in the car.
Right.
And now what we've tried to do is recreate that, and what we've done is a recreation of the original window sticker with all the factory options, what the car costs new, what the options cost new, and what the options are. And with the options getting more and more complicated these days, you really need to have the original window sticker or the Monroney label.
Well, that's exactly right. And what's great about this new update or the process as it evolves, because that's what you do now in the auto industry with all the tech, it shows more trust and transparency for the dealer. And that always helps out in the customer car buying experience, right?
Right, that's correct. And people now they're spending days on the internet trying to find the cars they want before they come into a dealership. And it's imperative that dealers correctly describe the cars correctly. We found that 70% of the cars that are on the internet are either misdescribed or have missing options, or the colors are wrong. So it's important that this is done correctly.
Okay, so what can dealers now, they're watching going, all right, so how does this Monroney label, how does this help me as far as the new things that you guys have been able to improve with this since it came out?
Well, what we've improved on it, we've got now where we can put a little small logo of a Monroney label on a dealer's website with a snippet of code, and it goes on there, and when a consumer clicks onto it, it's right next to the Carfax logo or the Experian logo or the InstaVin logo, and once they click onto it, it will actually pull up the original Monroney label. It'll show what the car was new, what the dealer's asking for it, and the miles, and so it's total transparency, what you said, Joe, and that's what we're trying to do, and it's helping the consumer. Plus, it's a lead generator, and the other thing is that the consumer now can know all the information that they need to know about the car.
Okay, so we all know long wait times are not fun, especially when it comes to the car buying process or at amusement parks. But just how long should customers be patient with your dealership, especially when we're talking about just walking in to the showroom? Who's approaching them and how long does that take? Well, Tony Trusov, Director of Training at Automotive Development Group, tells us how to cut down on that time. Take a look.
As far as what dealership can do, there's a myriad of things that stores can do. But number one, pay attention, right? Number two, hire the right people. Definitely need to make sure that your staff is hired. But most importantly, dealership have to match, or rather map out, the customer touch point experience. So at any given time, there are certain touch points that the customers go through, whether it's walking into your store or walking into your online showroom floor, if you will. So the dealers have to take time to actually map out that process and really figure out what does it take to purchase, or rather shop, purchase, and then also service your vehicle, because it's not just about the front end of the building. It's also very unfortunate, but also in the service department, that's where a lot of dealerships actually lose customers. So again, there's hire the right people, map out the process, and then train, right? So that training, the continuous training has to keep going on and on and on, as well as the, of course, spot checking the experiences.
All right, also this week, we also discussed the ease of the car buying process until a customer gets to the F&I office. The customer is wrapped up at your dealership. The process, everything has gone well, super fast, super easy, super smooth, but then they get to the F&I office where the manager's waiting with lots of paperwork. But up until that moment, everything was done digitally and the process was seamless. So does that mean maybe it's time for F&I managers to go mobile as well with a digital menu? We sat down with our expert, Becky Chernick, who you see right here as the host of F&I Today, to get her thoughts on that. Take a look. You're seeing this topic everywhere now. F&I, digital menu, are more people adapting to this? Is it working? Is it more fluff or more buff? What is it?
Well, I think we definitely have our job ahead of us, and I think that digital menu presentation can be ideal in the right environment. But I do think that some of these F&I people, as much as we don't want to hear, we have some pushback. They're still wanting to do their paper menus, so it's not as if it's that easy. And especially when we're trying to teach an old dog new tricks, it's taken us this long just to go ahead and get that F&I manager up on a paper menu presentation, let alone this digital menu presentation.
So they missed the paper cuts. But here's the thing, It's not about them. Right? Because we're always talking about, especially on this network, we have people talking about the fact that it's all about the customer. And the customer is our boss, really.
That's right.
And they're changing everything. And everything is digital and everything is mobile. So when they come in and they continue to see the stacks of paper, then that sort of just killed the process. They have a great experience with the salesperson. Then they get back there in the F&I manager's office, and all of a sudden, more paperwork and some weirdness.
Well, I agree. It is about the customer, and the customer has to feel that seamless process and enjoy this entire buying experience. And I do believe that the digital menu presentation allows that, because it allows the customer to get engaged and be able to pick and choose their products and drag and drop products and that sort of thing. So it would be important for the finance person to get a better understanding of how this works, but it will take time.
All right, we wrapped up this week discussing, when it comes to VDP views, what's required of your dealership to sell a vehicle, especially when we're talking about the importance of ad spend. Well, Jason Knight, co-founder and COO of LotLinks, joined us here in the CBT studios to talk to us about his company wanting to determine the most effective way to get the most amount of views in a certain amount of time for dealerships. Take a look at what he said.
We studied about 300 stores, 300 dealers for 6 months, and really looked at all of their website traffic, all of their shopping, all of their vehicles, when they sold and what they got. And what we determined was pretty remarkable. And it was that 25% of their vehicles received 72% of all of the shopping traffic. So a very small minority of vehicles, very big majority of the traffic. And in fact, the average VDP views that those vehicles got was 72. So 25% vehicles, 72 VDP views on average. The bottom 25% received 1 shopper on average.
That's horrible.
And if you go back to that sweet spot of 30 and 30, you see there's a clear difference in, I'm spending too much on these top 25, I'm not giving enough love to the bottom 25. So we call that underengaged. And truly what you see is only 6% of their vehicles received the 30 and 30. And the ones that did sold at a much faster rate than the other 94% of vehicles that didn't. So big opportunity to be more efficient, spend where you want to spend or where you need to spend, and sell your cars at a much faster rate.
Okay, so the $64,000 question from dealers, how can they get VDP views to every car?
Yep, great news is dealers have this data, right? Because everyone is spending so much time shopping online, they will go to the dealer's site and look at a vehicle before they come down. So you're able to measure what's going on in my website from all of my sources. So they know where it's coming from, who's looking at it, how they come back, all of that, they already have the data. Bad news is that there was never a tool to do that. So one of the things that we did was we created a free tool for dealers that integrates all of their website data by vehicle over varying time periods to show, hey, this vehicle received 30 VDP views, 50 VDP views, 10 VDP views, whatever it is. So you can now identify this vehicle, it's good. I don't need to advertise that anymore. These 5 need a ton of work. And what you see is that the vast majority of vehicles are under engaged, which is a huge opportunity to sell them faster, also to save money on the ones that you're spending too much money on. And so it's really about using this tool, which is accessible to everyone, to use your marketing better. It's not about lot links, it's not about SEM, it's not about anything else. It's about using the data to be more efficient and creating these VIN level campaigns that you need to get the cars the love they need.
Okay, so if you missed any of these stories or any other conversations we had this week, again, you can always go back anytime right here and watch them on demand on the CBT Automotive Network and cbtnews.com. All right, just a reminder, after this show, you want to check out F&I Today with Becky Chernig. Today, Becky sits down with Frank J. Lopes. He's the VP of Advertising with Forrest & Blake Marketing and Advertising Firm to talk about how important it is that sales and F&I departments work together and how to better interact with the dealer team. Take a look at a preview.
There needs to be empathy for everyone's position and everyone's job. So if you're a salesperson and you have a deal that's going in the back in F&I to be spun and to be delivered, right?
Yeah.
Look through the paperwork.
Oh my.
Make sure, God forbid, take 2 minutes. Look through the paperwork. Make sure you have everything in there. 2 minutes of your time to look through everything, right, could save 20 minutes of the customer's time.
All right, once again, F&I Today with Becky Chernig right after this show. All right, when we come back, we're going to give you a rundown of our weekly shows. Stay tuned.
Introducing GeoForce, our advanced paid search targeting solution. We've created an innovative SEM targeting tool that is designed to eliminate wasted ad dollars by maximizing a dealer's ROI. Start seeing a true impact and ROI from your SEM campaigns with GeoForce.
Are you selling 8 to 10 cars per month and you want to increase that average to 12 to 14 cars per month? Let me show you how. Every Monday on Straight Talk with David Lewis.
All right, so there's a lot more going on here at the CBT Automotive Network. Every day we bring you an episode of one of our weekly shows. On Mondays, we bring you an episode of Straight Talk with David Lewis. On Tuesdays, we have our Service Center Weekly Tune-Up with Jeff Cowan and the Tom Stuker Show with Tom Stuker. Brian Pash hosts Auto Marketing Now, and Mark Tewart hosts the show On the Mark every Wednesday. On Thursdays, we bring you Kane & Company with David Kane. Fridays, it's F&I Today with host Becky Chernig, and Progressive Retail with Corey Mosley. Now this week, Corey sits down with Matt Redden of Dealer Socket and asks him what are the best dealers doing to maximize the use of their CRM. Take a look.
What are some of the best dealers doing in the marketplace to really maximize the use of the system?
They're really changing their focus from kind of the concept of normal CRM to really focusing on the relationship, the retention, and the repeat customer. So instead of just enabling process and having the system do your follow-up, it's actually giving you an opportunity to be progressive as a salesperson or progressive as a sales manager and keying in things that really change the relationship and change the way that the dealership is viewed in our customer base.
All right, so there you go. Progressive Retail with Corey Mosley right after this show. And of course, on Saturdays, we pump you up with that big weekend of sales with Saturday Morning Sales Meeting this week with Mark Tewart. All right, be sure after today's newscast to check out Car Biz Today magazine right here on the site. so you can get more insight from industry experts and insiders. And while you're online, don't forget to connect with us on social media for more CBT news, highlights of our shows, interviews, and much more. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Hey, I'm Joe Gum. We appreciate you joining us today. Have a great weekend of sales, and we'll see you right back here on Monday.
Thank you for watching the official news source of the retail automotive industry, CBT News. Today's show is brought to you by The Auto.